Hey guys, what's up? Um, this is going to be directed towards the atheists and then more philosophical type of the atheists out there. I subscribe to a few of you guys. I've seen some of your videos, and in light of some past events that I wasn't aware of, and I was just looking at some like a month ago, I was looking at some stuff that made me think about something that I decided that I should probably bring to your attention in case, I guess it's a reminder if you guys need a reminding of it, or more of a, like if you haven't thought about this, it's something to think about. Let me get on with this because I only have 10 minutes. There seem to be, from what I've been looking at, I've noticed two types of atheists. There's like the more hardcore types, like say the Amazing Atheist on YouTube, who's these particular type of guys are like hardcore. Logic and science is all they base their stuff on, and they will bash any religious type who comes up with what they feel are completely faulty and stupid views. So, I mean, they'll insult them, ridicule them, bash them, whatever, wham, you know, hardcore guys, and they don't mind, they like the conflict. And then you have the other types who are a bit more philosophical. They work towards more shades of gray. While they do acknowledge that they don't believe in a God at all, they nonetheless will accept the fact that there really is no proof one way or the other. And that there really isn't like one basic truth. Like you can see, from depending on what your angle is, you can interpret different things. And they're more willing to work with religious types. Because it's like, well, just because we got a different belief and I got a different belief doesn't mean that we can't share ideas, we can't live on the same globe. So they're not as hardcore. It's this particular group that I'm addressing this video to. In fact, I'm sharing this with a number of atheists that I believe are in the latter type, not the former type. But of course I don't care who sees this video. I mean, it's for everybody to see, otherwise I wouldn't have put this public. But I've specifically shared this with a type of a few of them who I believe are in the latter type for a reason. And just to clarify my particular position, I tend to be more in the latter view. I stated before that I consider myself an atheist as well as an agnostic, and I know to many that makes absolutely no sense, and I'm not expecting it to, but I'm just to sum it up, I don't believe in any of the earth definitions of a God. What people have called a God, what they worship, I completely disavow. There's just no proof of it. The ridiculousness of religion to me is apparent. And while other people are free to make that their life, and I don't fault them for it, it's just not for me. But I do believe in some form of higher power. Notice I didn't say a God, I said a higher power. That's as far as I'm going to go because I got no proof of it. But I tend these days to be in the latter group. The ones that believe that we can all live on the same globe, rather than when I used to bash heads. When I was younger, I used to be the type that would bash down religions, but I realized when I got older that ripping out the cornerstones of people's lives isn't a good thing to do. For the religious people, their faith is what helps them to go through life, and if you're just going to come around and rip it apart, you know, we don't have the right to do that. It's up to them to change their views whether they want to or not us. But I do want to bring up something. I do believe that yes, we can share ideas and be friends with and don't have to have major conflicts with religious types. We shouldn't do that. I mean, everybody's going to believe something, and everybody on this planet, whether they believe in a God or not, has beliefs that aren't grounded in fact. We believe them because they're comfortable. But there's another group, the fanatics, the hardcore true religious believers. Those guys have to beware of them. You can't reconcile with them. You can't reason with them. You can't work with them. And it's not because of any hatred on your part, but on theirs. They see you as the enemy. An enemy that needs to be annihilated. You might think I'm exaggerating this, but I am not. And I'm basing this on their beliefs and their holy scriptures and their total belief in God. Of the three big religions, and I'm saying that loosely because if we're going to be talking about big as far as numbers of people believing it, then Buddhism has all those three Western religions big. But if we're going to be talking about like the hardcore, like the Western worlds, those three big Western world religions, those three, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have a core tenet that I think a lot of people overlook. That core tenet is this: that they, and they alone, are God's chosen people. And that they, and they alone, have certain rights and privileges on this earth that no one else has. And that everyone else is an enemy to combat, not live with. All three of these religions are also called Abrahamic religions. The reason being is that they all claim that their line, their religion, goes all the way back to this one ancestor, Abraham, who they believe that their God, saying that on purpose, their God supposedly had promised Abraham that his seed, his children, are the only ones. I mean, first of all, he blessed his seed, and that he would be with his children, and that his descendants will be his people, and he would bless them forever. That's their core belief. And the only problem is, everyone else on the planet are not God's chosen, and they are to be wiped out. Judaism was one of the first to do this, to fully hardcore throw themselves into this belief. Look at what happened after they left Egypt, if you've read the Bible. When they left Egypt, and they went into the land of Canaan, after they established themselves there, they started wiping out all the other cities and all the other kingdoms and countries. Anyone that did not accept their God was killed. Look at Jericho. They went there and wiped out everyone, to every last man, woman, and child, even down to the blades of grass and the animals. And whoever they could find that was still either alive or the dead bodies, whatever, threw them all in one building and set them on fire. And an entire civilization wiped out. Why? Because they weren't God's chosen people. God told them to wipe them out, and that's what they did. Of course, Judaism has mellowed out over the years. And, I mean, even worse, they've turned into the victims themselves with the horribleness of the Holocaust. Which is even more appalling to me, that after that lesson that you got now in Israel, now they're committing some of the same type of acts. Humans, they suck. Christians, same thing. They are God's chosen people. Especially if you look at the evangelical Christians, the Baptist type Christians in this country, they really believe that. They are God's chosen. Anyone else is an infidel that deserves to be thrown into hell. Or at the worst, they're the devil's minions and they must be wiped out. They hardcore believe this. And this was true in the past too. Look at the Crusades. They felt that they had to wipe everyone else out of Jerusalem because that was their city, not yours. God gave that to us. It's that chosen people mentality. Islam, same thing. Just look at today's current events. You don't really have to dig far to see that they also believe in this, we are God's chosen and you're not. This belief that they are the only ones entitled to getting full rights and powers or whatever, or dominion on this planet, is what's causing a lot of the conflict between other people and them. Other religious groups, of course, are going to butt heads, especially if one of those religious groups are the ones that believe that they're the ones that are chosen, not you. So they're always going to butt heads, and they just simply see each other as traditional enemies. And there is hatred, according to the fanatics, not the more moderate types who are trying to evolve their religion into modern times. But the fanatics, they don't want to evolve their religion. They believe the religion is fine just the way it is. And the atheist is their ultimate foe. The atheist is their ultimate foe, not just because they don't believe in a God and they have a different belief, but because you guys don't just simply wipe out, like just completely say, I disavow everything you believe. But you also can prove how ridiculous some of their beliefs are. You can prove that, for instance, their books were written by mankind. You can prove that, their old beliefs were completely disapproved by science. You can prove that there's a lot of hatred and stuff in their religion. You can show the logical fallacies in their beliefs. You can shut them down in arguments. This doesn't just make you an enemy. It makes you a threat. A threat that needs to be wiped out. especially according to the core tenets of the religion.